first of all, you need to know that, right, like the top little corner of the unit circle, I did tell you tomorrow I will give you a blank one of these that you can fill out. I would say that that's enough to get you through the test. So, and it's going to be a blank piece of paper. I'm going to give you like 3 minutes to write out what you can. I'm going to collect it back from you. It's 1 quadrant of unit circle. It shouldn't take you more than 3 minutes. Okay? Nope. Tomorrow. All right, and then these two, I'm giving you those two equations. You're giving you cotangent of 2 theta equals a minus c over b, and x equals x prime cosine theta minus y prime sine theta, and then y equals x prime sine theta plus y prime cosine theta. Those are actually on your test. So then if I want to figure out I start with the cotangent of 2 theta. A is 4, b is root 3, c is 3. So 4 minus 3 over root 3 is 1 over root 3. That's the cotangent of 2 theta. I flip it to get tan of 2 theta, which is root 3. I'd go to the unit circle that you wrote successfully the day before. You'd find your root 3 on pi over 3. So 2 theta equals pi over 3. And then I divide or multiply by a half. And I get theta is pi over 6. So that's one checkpoint. Then I plug in I replace all the x's with the first term, making theta pi over 6. I replace all the y's with the second term, making theta pi over 6. So 4 times x prime cosine pi over 6 minus y prime sine pi over 6 plus root 3 x, which is x prime cosine pi over 6 minus y prime sine pi over 6 times y, which is x prime sine pi over 6 plus y prime cosine pi over 6. Keep going. Grab a different color. Plus 3y, which is x prime cosine pi over 6 plus, x prime sine pi over 6 plus y prime cosine pi over 6 squared. No, if it's y, it's plus squared. And then minus 10 equals 0. Did I square this first one? No, this is also squared. All right, so then in the next step, remember, I do 3 things. I drop the primes. I have to bring them back later, but I drop the primes. I replace the sine and cosine with the value at pi over 6. This would be root 3 over 2 and 1/2. So all the cosines are the x's, all the sines are the y. And I switch the order so that the number comes first and the x comes second. So this would be 4 times, and this would be root 3 over 2x minus 1/2 y squared plus root 3 over 2 minus 1/2 y times root 1/2 x plus root 3 over 2 y plus 3. No, the y is plus 3, and then, which is maybe why your xy didn't cancel though. The sign there is 1/2 x plus root 3 over 2y squared minus 10 equals 0. Doesn't matter when you do it. Yeah. Then we're going to expand. I'm going to use the shortcut on the first parentheses because it's squared. So shortcut, first of all, the 4 stays on the front. Shortcut is square the first term. So the square of the square root of 3 over 2 is 3 over 4x squared. Square the last term. So that's 1/4 y squared. Double the product. So the product would be negative root 3 over 4xy. And we multiply that by 2. So negative 2 root 3 over 4xy. That last term is always positive because it's squared. Plus root 3. And this one you have to actually FOIL out. So I'm going to do this off to the side. Root 3 over 2x minus 1/2 y. And then 1/2 x plus root 3 over 2y. It's similar to the difference 2 squares, but it is not. They are not opposites. And the the value being the same. They are opposites, but the values are not the same. So you can't use difference 2 squared. The only time you're using difference of 2 squares, shortcut, the a squared minus b squared, is on an xy that has a pi over 4. That's when that works. So this becomes root 3 over 4x squared plus 3 over 4. Wait, I'm here. I did this. 3 over 4xy minus 1 over 4xy minus root 3 over 4y squared. So I get root 3 over 4 x squared plus 2/4 xy minus root 3 over 4y squared. That's that middle term.
Can you say that first?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, but why is x prime sine theta minus y prime cosine?
Okay, then I've got the last squared one. So plus 3, square the first term. This is 1/4 x squared. Square the last term. This is positive 3/4 y squared. Double the product, so it would be positive 2 root 3 over 4 xy. And then I can bump the 10 to the other side. Doesn't matter when you do it. But I'm here. Yeah.
Doesn't matter when you're squaring two things if it's plus or minus.
Right, because you square it, it's always going to be positive.
Yeah, so
The sign matters on the middle term. The 2 times their product, that the sign has to stay.
yeah, but the process of it, like square the two ends and then take part of it.
It doesn't matter. Yep, because it's always going to be squared. All right, so we kept them all over 4, even though there was some that we could have simplified for the next step. The next step is multiply everything by 4. So it's going to cancel all of the denominators. And it's got to go across to the 10. Now this 4 is gone. So by multiplying by 4, we literally eliminate all the denominators. That's all it does. But you have to multiply by the 10. It doesn't affect the 4 on the front because it got canceled out by the denominators. Everything by 4. Yep, if you keep the denominators over 4. That's why we keep them over 4. So now I distribute the 4 in here. I get 12x squared minus 8 root 3 xy plus 4y squared. Then I distribute the root 3 in here, so I get plus 3x squared plus 2 root 3 xy minus 3y squared. Then I distribute the 3, so I get plus 3x squared plus 6 root 3 xy plus 9y squared equals, don't forget to multiply the 4 times the 10. It's one of the most common mistakes made.
So if you mess up just like one,
Depends on where it is and what it is. So I'm not going to kill you from here on out, but you also can't get full credit. All right, so now we combine all of the xy's first because the goal there is to get rid of the xy, so this is your first checkpoint. So negative 8 root 3 plus 2 root 3 plus 6 root 3. This is negative 6 root 3 plus 6 root 3. Cancels out. So we know we did at least that part right. Then I want to group together all the x squareds. So I get 12 plus 3 or 15 plus 3, which is 18x squared. And then I want to group together all the y's. 4 minus 3 plus 9, 1 plus 9, which is 10. So already you should be able to tell this is what kind of conic? An ellipse because of the positive sign in between, right? So I need to bring back the prime on this, and I need to divide everything by 40. So I'm going to divide everything by 40. I'd end up with 18x prime squared over 40 plus 10y prime squared over 40 equals 1.
you don't simplify.
I'm going to, yeah. So the easy one is the 10 into the 40, right? 10 goes into 44 times. Does 18 go evenly into 40? No. How do I simplify that? So this would be 9 over 20, right? And then you cannot leave the top as the, like I can't leave a numerator in the top. So that is like we reverse it when we get given the equation, but now we're making the equation. So we bring this to the bottom. So it ends up being x prime squared over 20 over 9 plus y prime squared over 4 equals 1. You have to. You cannot leave a numerator. You can't leave something in the top like that, okay? It should end up, like if you're going to get something like this, then the denominator, at least on the fraction, should be a perfect square. Like I tried not to give you too hard of questions, but there's only so many values I can plug in here. So it's really, this is not an easy question to generate a lot of them on. So from here, again, we already identified it's an ellipse. What kind of ellipse is it? What's bigger, 20 over 9 or 4? 4 is bigger. So what kind of ellipse is it? It's vertical. The a squared is 4, which makes a 2. The b squared is 20 over 9, or b is the square root of 20 over 3. Now, if I'm going to draw this, I'm actually going to approximate it from there. Root 20 is in between, like, root 16 and root 25. So we could call it like a 4.5 over 3. Yes, like in the grand scheme of rotations, you could have something, but you'd have to complete the square on it. It's not going to happen on the test. You just won't have time. Yeah, hang on just a second. So the center should be 0, 0. You did something wrong. Yep. So I'm going to approximate this just to graph it, right? If I was actually finding vertices, like if this was on a different question, you're not going to have to find all the perfect vertices and all that stuff. But if this was on a different question and I was going to have to find, it asked for the vertices and the foci, you'd have to simplify that root 20 to be 2 root 5 and go from there. But because we are only using this to approximate our graph, we have to approximate that to be like a 1.5. Then you'll go to your graph. You got to figure it out. You won't, no.
So, should we round it to the...
You're going to, I mean, you can approximate, yeah, no, you don't need any more than a tenth because you're graphing this. It's not going to be any more accurate than that. All right. Yeah. All right, so now you're going to draw your rotated axis. So we go all the way back to the beginning. What we got for theta, which was pi over 6. I would find it on my, like where pi over 6 should be, which is here. This is our new x prime. We've rotated x prime up to pi over 6. I'm going to eyeball a perpendicular line. That's not a very good job, but that would be my y prime. Yep. You got to know what they are. So, no, as long as you graph it on the right axis, just be careful. Yeah. And then I'm going to physically take and rotate the paper so that the y prime's at the top, like I would normally graph it. Obviously, I can't do that because that's on a TV, so I'm going to rotate it this way, okay? But you would just turn your paper. You would find the center at 0, 0 because there's nothing after the x and nothing after the y. It's an ellipse, and we said it's vertical, so I'm going to go up and down 2. Those are my vertices. And I'm going to go right and left 1 point. Oh, I lost it. It's over here. 1.5. And then I'm going to draw the ellipse. So that when you turn it back, it should be a rotated ellipse. I'm going to go quickly through this. Now, these are just the formulas and stuff you need to know. These are not examples. The examples are obviously your homework is the PDF, the review. But this has all the formulas and stuff you need to know. So for 9-1, we did circles and parabolas, okay? We got the standard form of a circle, which is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. The hk is the center, and the r is the radius. There were 2 types of questions for circles. One where you get given the equation and you have to graph it or identify the center and the radius. You could have to complete the square there, something like that. Or where you get information about it and you have to find the equation. Like here's the center and a point on it. You got to plug them in, get the radius, plug it back in. You are going to complete the square. I think it's at least twice, but it could be any of them. So you could be completing the square on a circle or a parabola or an ellipse or a hyperbola. Just be prepared for it. So on the review assignment on Canvas, you have the PDF that's from the book. There's an extra review that's like a Canvas generated questions. Those are multiple choice. Obviously, your test is not multiple choice on Wednesday, but that's how it grades it. The third thing is all complete the square. So like in a previous year, I gave a video quiz on complete the square with this stuff. Those questions are there and then solutions worked out. So if you know the complete the squares, what you got to focus on, there's stuff there for you to do.
You said there's a quiz?
No, I said in a previous year I gave that as a video quiz. I am not doing that again with y'all. Yeah.
The thing that we just did, is it gonna be every single like a circle, parabola?
It could be any of those. Yeah.
We're only doing one, right?
There's only one rotation, but it could be any conic. Yeah. I think there's 10 total. 10 or 11.
One for the last thing.
Correct. All right, then we got to the parabola. So there's two types. If it's horizontal, this is your y squared. So this would be y minus k squared equals 4px minus h. If it's vertical, it is x minus h squared equals 4py minus k. So if it's a positive 4p, this points up. And if it's a negative 4p, it points down. If it's a positive 4p with a y squared, it points to the right. Negative 4p, it points to the left. Yeah.
Wait, what happened? How does the equation look if it's on zero? Is it
There would just be no k and no h.
On the under the vertical, it's minus 4p?
Under vertical, no, it's plus. If it's plus 4p, I don't even know how that happened. Plus, positive 4p, it's up. Negative 4p, it's down. Your vertex is your hk. And then p is the distance from the vertex to the focus or vertex to the directrix. And remember, your focus is an x, y coordinate. Your directrix is an equation. So it's x equals a number or y equals a number. So you got to figure out which direction it goes. You got to plot your vertex. If it's supposed to go to the right, you go to the right. Whatever p is, that's your foci. You go to the left, that's your directrix.
why is the right side vertical if it's crossing through the x?
The x is squared, right?
So it's crossing through the x.
It's going up and down. I mean, it doesn't have to cross through the x-axis.
Wait, what do you mean by or? Can you read?
Because p is the distance from vertex and the focus, or it's the distance for both of them. Yeah.
The focus and the directrix, like the distance is the same, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is p. So again, parabola, you can get given the equation, and then you got to find information from it, graph it, or you get given information from it, and you got to find the equation. You got to learn how to go both directions, and again, that's on your review. So I could give you two of these three, and you'd have to be able to tell me the equation. So I could give you the vertex and the focus, or the vertex and the directrix, or the focus and the directrix, and you'd have to be able to work backwards, draw yourself a little picture. So tomorrow, that little unit circle question is going to be on the graph paper, so you'll fill out the unit circle on the graph paper, and then that becomes your scrap graph paper, because there's going to be questions in which graphs are not part of the points, but you're going to want to be able to plot them. So I'll give you the graph paper. All right, 9.2 is ellipses. So the standard form of the ellipse, they're either, again, horizontal or vertical. If it's horizontal, it is x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. And if it's vertical, it's x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared equals 1. Order does not matter. So the order on either of those could be switched. What is important is that A is larger.
Order doesn't matter, but A has to be higher.
Correct.
That tells you.
Like order doesn't
Correct.
matter on top or
Order doesn't matter anywhere, like the plus or the minus. The plus can be switched. The y can come first, or the x can come first. The most important thing is the A is the larger. So whichever one has the larger denominator, that determines if it's vertical or horizontal.
Which is the one where if it's like the negatives at the front, you have to move it?
That's a hyperbola. There's no negative on ellipse.
So if A is under the x and it's larger, then it's horizontal.
Correct. My center is HK. A is the distance from center to vertices or vertex. B, center to co-vertex. C, center to focus. And C squared, oh, that's all this. C squared equals A squared minus B squared. Major axis equals 2A, minor axis equals 2B. You've got to be able to find the vertices, the co-vertices, the foci, and the eccentricity, which is C over A. Remember, the closer that is to 1, the more rounded it is. The closer it is to 0, the more flat it is. Other way around, sorry, yeah. What? Yeah. I mean, you need them to graph anyways, but yeah. Mm-hmm. And then just like with parabolas, the ellipses, you're going to get information about an ellipse. You've got to be able to find the equation, or you're going to, given the equation, possibly have to complete the square on it, and then you'll graph it and find all the parts. Just pay attention to what it asks for. Like if it doesn't ask for the foci, don't waste your time finding C. Like there's going to be stuff like that you cannot waste your time on so you won't finish.
On the line of the test, is it like each part?
Yeah.
A, B?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a lot of pressure.
Yeah. All right, then hyperbolas and the rotation. So the standard form of the hyperbola, again, there's two of them if it's horizontal or if it's vertical. This time the order matters. So if it's horizontal, x comes first. X minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. And vertical is y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. A is first this time.
It doesn't matter if it's big or not.
Nope, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be biggest. So the center is again HK. Be careful because people tend to screw it up if the order's changed. And again, A is center to vertex. B is center to covertex. C is center to foci. All of that stays the same. C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. It's always the opposite side of your standard form. So ellipse was plus for the equation, minus for the C. Hyperbola is minus for the original equation, plus for the C squared. You've got to be able to find vertices, covertices, foci, asymptotes. So if it is vertical, well, if it's horizontal, I'll go first. Y equals K plus and minus B over A X minus H. And if it's vertical, Y equals K plus and minus A over B X minus H. So the difference is the B over A and the A over B. Eccentricity is still C over A. This is where you got to make your box. So you're going to go, whichever direction you need to go for your A's, for your B's, then you're going to make your box, and you're going to draw your asymptotes, and then you're going to graph. Or that's if you're given the equation. Or you're going to get given information about the hyperbola, and you're going to work backwards to get the equation. If it's A equals C, it's a circle. If it's equal to 0, that means that you're missing one. That's a parabola. Greater than 0, that means it's positive. That's an ellipse. Less than 1, that means it's negative. Thank you, too. That's a hyperbola.